Hey everybody, this is Dave Blair, and the video you're watching is just background, and it is a trip that I took with two of my friends, Dave and Jeff. They're both on their BMW 1250 GSs, the road bike version, and I'm on my mighty KLR 650. Anyway, we decided to ride from Phoenix up to Yarnell and have brunch, and then we return back to Phoenix. So this is just some clips of the ride, and I want to talk about some other things. But before I do, so we took this trip on October 12th of 2024. We've been having a heat wave in Phoenix, and it has been over 100 degrees for quite a while now, but we left early in the morning and it was like 87 degrees when we left and it was 100 when we got home. But anyway, yeah, so this is going to be another one of those talks that I want to do about things that you're not supposed to talk about, which is politics, money, and God. And so on this one, I just want to talk about money. And what I want to talk about is basically getting out of debt. So if you are in debt, whether it be credit cards or car payments and things like that, this is a system that I have used, and it doesn't require any budgeting or anything like that, but you do need to be the one that's in control of your money. So if you have a joint checking account and somebody else is spending money out of that account, this is really going to be tricky unless you both get on board. But for this example, we're going to assume that you are in control of the money that comes in and out of your checking account. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you need to know basically how much on average you have coming into your account and how much on average you have going out. And the way that you do that is you look back at the prior months, and you can pull that up through your bank website, or if you have bank statements, you just need to know and you need to write down. Let's say that this is October of 2024, so you're going to go back to January of 2024. You're going to write down how much money you spent each month, and then you're going to add that all up and divide it by the number of months, and that's your average. That's the average of what you spend a month. And I'm gonna give you some numbers to work with here. And then you're also going to go back to January and do the same thing with how much income do you have, assuming you have direct deposit and your pay goes into your checking account. But basically, how much money do you have coming in every month? And then you're going to add all those up and divide it by the number of months. So you have your average income and your average outgo. So these numbers are very important. But for this example, let's say your average income is $4,000 a month, and we'll just use nice round numbers, make it easy. And your average expenses are $3,500 a month. So in this example, you have $500 more coming in each month than you have going out on average. Now, there may be a month where you had a car repair bill and you actually spent more than 3,500. That's why you want to work with averages. But we'll address that in a minute. So once you know what your averages are, now what you really want to do is you want to focus on trying to pay off one thing at a time. So you take the lowest amount that you owe, and let's say it's a credit card, and let's say you owe $2,000 on that credit card, and that's your lowest. You have a car payment, you have other credit cards, but you're going to pay minimum on all your other balances except for the one you're trying to pay off. And then you're going to start each month. But before you do that, hold on. So you're going to start each month and you're going to say, okay, I know I spend $3,500 on average. And so I'd like to start the month with an extra $1,000 in my account. So again, if you know your average expenses is 3,500, you want to let's say September 30th, the last day of the month, you want to have in there, when you start the next month on the 1st, you want to have $4,500. Now, if you don't have $4,500 or $1,000 more than what you normally spend on the first of the month, then you just make minimum payments on all your bills until you do have that $1,000 buffer, or it's a cushion. So you're going to have $1,000 more than what you average spend, if that makes sense. So if you average spend $3,500, you want to have $4,500 before anything comes out or goes in on the first of the month. Now, if all your expenses stay on average, then you should have that $1,000 at the end of the month. And you always want to start the month with $1,000 more than what you're going to spend. And again, if you don't, you just make minimum payments on everything until you do. So basically, if you started the month with $4,000 and you spent $3,500 over the course of October, let's say, then on November 1st, you would have an extra $500, but you're not going to put that towards any bills. You're just going to subtract it from the balance, okay? So that I'm sorry, you're not going to subtract it, but you're not going to spend that $500 that you have above until you get $1,000 above. So let's say in the end of October, or November 1st, you have $500 more. So you're starting the month with 4,000. Well, you go to the end of November, okay, and let's say you have at the end of the month, before the first takes anything out, you have $4,200, okay? That's still not enough. You don't want to do anything until you have 45. So then you go through December, and maybe you spent extra on Christmas, and now maybe you start January with only 4,000. Well, you cannot do anything yet. And then you get through January, right? And now you have $4,500. Let's say you have 4,550 at the end of January. So on February 1st, you have $4,550 in your account. Now you take that $50 that's above your 4,500, okay? So that's your covering your basic expenses or your average expenses, right? Plus $1,000, that's 4,500, but you've got $50 above that. Now you take that $50 and you put it on that lowest balance credit card that we talked about of the $2,000 that you owe. So instead of making the minimum payment, you make the minimum payment on the one you're trying to pay off plus the $50 you had extra. Okay, and then you get to the end of March, right? And let's say you have another 500, so you've got $5,000 in there. Well, you take the 4,500 and then you take the 500 you have extra, and now that is going to be paid on that credit card that we're trying to pay off. Like the last month we paid 50 extra, this time we're paying 500 extra. Okay, and that's how it works. And you focus on paying one thing at a time, and it's going to take a while, but I have worked this system and it works. You need to know what your average expenses are, and hopefully you make more than what you're spending. Then you want to reduce your payments to minimum payments on everything except for the one thing you're trying to pay off, which should be your lowest balance. And then once that's paid off, you move to the next lowest balance. So maybe you have another credit card that's got $5,000 on it, and that would be the next one you work on. Again, everything else is minimum payments. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I don't really know any other way to explain it. But yeah, you want to make sure you have enough to cover each month at the beginning of the month. So again, if your expenses are 3,500, you better have at least 3,500 to start the month. If you don't, then you should be making minimum payments on everything until you do have more. You want $1,000 buffer, and if something comes up, so let's say you've been paying off that credit card and you finally get that one paid off, but the next month you don't have anything extra, or maybe you spent more than you brought in that month. Well, then you switch back to trying to fill up that $1,000 buffer again. So you can eventually start the next month where you have your 3,500 plus $1,000 buffer at the start of the next month. And again, I know it's a slow process, but it usually picks up over time. The more stuff you get paid off, the less you have going towards that, and you can shift it towards your next bill that you're trying to pay off. But you focus on one at a time, and you just keep rolling everything that you're paying to the next thing you're trying to pay off, and eventually you'll have everything paid off. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Anyway, it's really hard to talk and ride at the same time. That's why I'm doing voiceover. But yeah, we had some great views going up to Yarnell and everything. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. And I hope you're in a situation where if you are trying to pay off your bills, that this made sense for you. And keep going along. The struggle is real. I mean, it's real for most people. It was real for me, and I worked this system, and it really worked out well for me. All right, thanks for watching.